What's up, agents? Zero here, welcome back to some more Minecraft investigations. And real quick, I want to go ahead and give a huge shout out to my good friend TGC for making the brand new intro for this series. I'm actually really proud of what he did, and I'm pretty sure he's proud of his work as well. And I'm really curious about you guys' opinion about it, so make sure to let me know that down in the comments. But as you can obviously tell by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be looking at the Herobrine.exe creepypasta story. Now, admittedly, this is only the second video that I've done as far as Minecraft investigations is concerned, and I already did say I did not want to look into this kind of thing. However, I decided to go ahead and change my mind about this simply because if I'm going to be looking at this kind of stuff like weird entities and creepy stuff and that kind of thing, then it would only make sense that I go ahead and look into these kinds of stories. So if you guys happen to know of some stuff that I could potentially look at, either weird entities in the game, weird seeds, or stories such as this one, then be sure to let me know that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and read this story, obviously, and down in the description is going to be a link to the story that I'm going to be reading to you guys. So if you want to read it as I'm reading it to you, you're more than welcome to do so. However, what I am going to be doing as I'm reading this is, first off, I am going to be reading it word for word, but secondly, I am going to end up trying to basically correct any potential typos that are in the story as I'm reading it, and I'm also going to be omitting specific words just simply for censorship, so keep all of this in mind. But other than that, let's go ahead and dive into this little creepypasta story. This creepypasta begins one night. A Minecraft player is browsing for seeds to put on his game for a video. He kept browsing, kept searching for a seed since the other ones didn't look fascinating, but then he clicked on a page with a seed labeled Herobrine.exe once he clicked the more details link. A download appeared on his desktop. He got suspicious but launched the program. Odd enough, the username was his first, middle, and last name. He automatically knew that this wasn't just a hacked client, but he kept playing on. Once he launched the game under his username and password, there is no Mojang logo. The screen title was not normal. The Minecraft logo had moss and blood on it. The panorama background had a brown sky and black clouds. The grass was gray and had mutilated mobs on it, organs and all. The water was crimson red, and the trees were burning. Where the version number was on the normal game, it said, Herobrine will kill you 666. And the Mojang copyright message, where it usually says, copyright Mojang AB, don't distribute, it said, it's too late now, you can't escape. And the GUI had only one working button. Single player, which already had one world in it. Prepare to die was its title. The player hesitated, but the world automatically loaded without him clicking the mouse. He spawned in a world similar to the one in the panorama, but the render distance was tiny. The sound was gone, except for murmurs, whispers, moans, and occasionally a cry or scream. He got scared, especially when seeing a cow. The cow looked completely normal, but when it turned around, it had white eyes with blood underneath them. The eyes with the blood were on all the mobs. Then, song 11 played, but it slowly got slower and more demonic. Then he saw what appeared to be Herobrine. He was holding a fire block and was halfway in the fog, moving his head to the demonic music. After the song was complete, Herobrine's face appeared on the screen with sharp teeth and bloody eyes. It showed for a second, then the player died, but not like a Minecraft death. The game cut to a third-person view of his character being stabbed by an invisible force. It was more gruesome than possible in the Minecraft graphics. It showed the player with his intestines falling out and him bleeding as the huge wound in his abdomen gushes organs out of his body. It was so realistic. The lights in the player's house went out, and he respawned in the game. He kept exploring and found a hut on the mountain. The player moved his way up the mountain, randomly finding signs along the way, saying things like, "You can't run," "Turn back now," "See you in hell," etc. These signs were covered in blood, and the last one was the most gruesome of all. It said, "You'll see that Notch is dead. So is everyone else. The world has been taken by me. You're next." The house was made of bedrock. He went into the house and saw the most graphic thing that can ever be seen in a video game. It was the corpses of Notch's avatar impaled, hung, with his eyes gorged out, and internal organs spilled out on the floor. His cave was ripped and soaked in blood. Once the player turned around to run, he saw him in the doorway. Then, Herobrine yelled, "Stop," in real life. The player experienced loss of vision, but regains himself after 2 minutes, finding himself in the nether. He keeps seeing grotesque imagery of players being murdered, stabbed, dismembered, impaled, and beheaded on the screen. Then he heard a group of children chant demonically, "They're all dead. You're next." Then screams and other disturbing noises started playing in the background while the player was slowly strangled and beaten by dead players who had previously succumbed to Herobrine. The player was scared and confused. He knew this wasn't a bootleg game, but a possessed version. He couldn't handle it. He quit the game and put it in the recycling bin, clearing it immediately. After he emptied the recycling bin, the screen went black, and Herobrine came and said, "You can't escape. You think deleting the game will do anything? Boy, you are stupid. I am beyond the game and I will never leave. You have challenged my power. Only God can help you now, because it's time for you to die." 2 seconds later, the game loaded up, with much gorier graphics than before. It was raining blood. There were photorealistic dead bodies scattered everywhere. Then, Herobrine ran straight at the player, broke through the monitor, and attacked him. He let out a terrifying scream as he was thrown up against the wall. His eyes were bleeding and he had no pupils. After this ordeal, his neighbor had heard and saw it all and called emergency services. 4 minutes later, paramedics, firefighters, and police were on the scene. The player was rushed to the hospital while he was in a coma. The police did an investigation only to find blood on the wall written as, "I'll be back," and "Only God can help you now." The same words were carved on the player's back and chest. 3 days later, the player woke up. He felt different, terrified per se. He then vowed never to play Minecraft again. He was lucky. Herobrine has killed everyone who has downloaded it before him. He was the only survivor of Herobrine.exe. Well guys, that is actually a pretty interesting story. It was worded a little bit odd, admittedly, and I did my best to read this as I could. I did stumble a little bit, admittedly, and I do apologize for that, but at the very least, I did get this story out, and honestly, this is interesting for me to say the least, and I really don't know what to think of it other than, well, obviously it's a creepypasta, which I don't get into very often, but obviously I'm going to get into a little more often now that I'm doing this whole investigation series. But other than that, honestly, pretty well written, all things considered. I do like the idea of this a lot, and there are admittedly a number of stories that I've at least heard of, not specifically read, but at least heard of, regarding these blank.exe things. Obviously, there's Sonic.exe, which is something that, while I'm not 100% familiar with, I have at least seen like videos and stories about it. And it's kind of interesting. There is also Mario.exe, which I have seen as well. And there's, as far as I'm aware, a ton more .exe things that are in the world. Well, as far as the internet is concerned, and Most of them are pretty creepy. There are some that I have heard they're not as good, but at the very least, the majority of them are all pretty good, including this one. But yeah, that's all there is as far as this little story is concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video off here. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. Or more than make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zero Studios. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys later.